In this part, we will look at how to use the webcam and interact with the animation with the real-life object. So let's add the extension first. So go to the lower left corner and you see the video sensing. So it may ask you to turn on the or give permission to access the camera. So just say yes. And now you should, your camera should be on. And now I have a background, so it look kind of blurred. So actually we can set the transparency to, let's see, 100. So you see nothing, right? So then you change it to 0. Then you see a clear image this time. So I print out a paper with some color on that. We will use that later. So for now, how do we do the sensing? So like usual, so we will start with the green flag. So we start with green flag. So this time, make sure the cat go to some location first. So maybe negative 200 this time and 100. So with this area, and also make sure it points to the right direction. And then because it look a little bit big compared with my berries in the background, so we'll make it a little bit smaller. So change the size. Where is it? Change size here. So set the size to be 50%. So it'll be a little bit smaller, right? So we can move the animation with the images that sense inside the webcam. So if you look at the video sensing, you see only 4 boxes here, right? Turn on or off the video camera. So the video camera, you have to manually turn off. So even though I stop now, so my camera is still on. So of course, if I want to turn it off, then I just turn it off. So of course, I'll double click it. So we turn off and turn back on. So you have to manually do it. Otherwise, it will be, the Scratch program will be using the resources of the camera. Or actually, do a flip. Okay, so so it looks like my original camera now. So my hand is moving from the right side, so it's correct. So because sometimes some of the camera are flipped automatically. So what can we do with the other box then? So we can use this block. So when it sends some movement over your sprite, so you may need to adjust this number because it might be different. So that means that if I, for example, just say something, so just say motion, how about that? So if I have my fingers go across, it'll be motion, right? So because it can sense, because even my shadow can sense, right? It can sense my motion. So, but we don't want more than that. So maybe we sense, make it bigger number. So for a little bit of sensing, it won't detect. So this time maybe a little bit too much this time. Oh, maybe I didn't say anything. Oh, okay. So now here, even the brightness will affect. So I better do it here. Okay. So okay. So what can we do with the animation? So when I sense some movement over my sprite, then actually I can move. So for example, just move 10. So that means whenever I have a movement over the sprite, regardless from this which direction, it will just move forward, right? You just keep moving forward, regardless of whatever direction my hand is. So we just keep moving to one direction. So how does it change direction then? So of course you point to different direction, right? So point to where? If you look at the video sensing, there is something called the video on sprite. So this time we don't want the motion, we want the direction. So then we change the direction over the sprite. So let's start over again. So this time I can go from this way, right? This is my shadow. I better do it this way, okay? So it will move towards the direction that will point to. So instead of going one direction, so if you want to go move down, move down, 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 hello. So it's kind of hard sometimes to move it back. So okay, so we take a little bit of skill to practice how it works. So maybe move bigger step will help. So it's look better now. Okay, so then what about the barriers I built over the camera? So I have a piece of paper of different color. So just like usual, we can detect the collisions. Right? Here first, okay. You just do this first. So the condition will be under sensing. So this time we can use the color. Okay. So for the color, we can actually choose the drop. So we may not be able to see a drop. So let me move a little bit up. So you see the drop here, right? That means to pick a color on the screen. So because the brightness will affect the color also. So that should look good enough, okay? So then we can make the cat to say something first. Oh, touch, touch. And then maybe move just negative 15 steps back. So and see if it works. So we can go through. So my shadow is actually moving it already. Go, go over there. Oh, well. So, so in this way, then you might need to pick a few more points because you see my paper is kind of curved already. So that means that the color on here, this area, will be different from here. So you may need to use the operator to use more overcase to pick a few more points on here so that it won't, so that it will detect the whole bar. So because there you can see from your eyes that they're actually in different color. So you may need to make more conditions. So for example, here and the sensing too. So you may need to keep adding more different locations on here. So maybe here is already different color. So it is already looking a little bit different. So you may want to do that and also do the blue bar. So in this way, then you can make sure that when the animation touch the color, then it will stop and not going through the barriers. Okay, so I can move it back a little, I guess, mouse it. Move back, move back, move back. Okay. So you can kind of play around with it because it takes a little bit of skill to move it to the correct location. So one other thing to control it a little bit better is to use the key control. So for example, if you want to move direction, so instead of using the point to direction, you actually, for example, use a control, use the key, let's control is another event. You may want to use the key instead. So for example, if you want to make it go up, Then you may want to change the direction. Let's say point to direction to up position. Then in here, instead of using point to direction, you just strictly use the move blocks. So that means I'll run again. So if I want to change direction, so I can use up arrow. So now it's going up. So when I have my movement, then it will just go straight up, right? So if that means if I want to use other key, so for example, I want to go right, then make it point to the 90-degree angle. So go right. Then if I have any movement, you can see that it's up on top. So you just keep going through this way, other than using the point to direction. So because it's very hard to control, so you may use it this way to make your animation to go from one place to another easier. So okay, so you can play around with other blocks also. So there's only 4 blocks here, so it's not much you can say, but you can combine with all the movement and the sensings together. Then you can build a game with the animation and the real world. So you don't have to really print out a color paper. You can use real-time object or real-life object. So just make sure that the color should be bright enough and not too wary under the light. So then you'll be okay. So, and that's all for this part.